Okay. Kennedy, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Alexandra, and good afternoon, good morning, colleagues, wherever you are. As Alexandra was indicating, my name is Kennedy Kamau. I work with GWOPA, the Global Water Operators Partnership Alliance, based in Bonn, as a program management officer. So as Alexandra was highlighting, the genesis of the series actually began last year during the 5th GWOPA Congress held in Bonn, which is supported by the German government. And it was an idea through a partnership of different organizations, including FWASA, the African Water and Sanitation Association, AquaFed, the International Federation of Private Water Operators, FSMA, Africa Sludge Management Alliance, the network of the German water sector, which is the German Water Partnership, Susanna, our partner in Sustainable Sanitation Alliance from GIZ, and also from Waterworks from the Netherlands. So the aim was actually to more or less unite together and identify the need for creating these peer-to-peer exchanges between utilities and offering a space for utilities to really share the experiences and lessons learned, which more or less closely aligns to what they're currently doing. Next slide, please. So the webinar started off in September with the objective of showcasing a total of about 10 case studies spread across 5 webinars. We have case studies from Kenya Water Utilities on how sanitation has transformed different cities, Nakuru and Malindi. We listened to how national utilities in Senegal and Burkina Faso are managing sanitation effectively. We also had a conversation with the private sector service providers on container-based sanitation. We had the last webinar was on on-site sanitation and fecal sludge management. We had cases from Zambia and Senegal showcasing some of our work through the EU WARPS program. Of course, we've reached the 5th webinar, with each webinar representing a distinct aspect of utilities engagement in sanitation. And we're very delighted to note that about the responses and interest that each of the webinar has really garnered. And you're looking forward to this last one on women in utilities, who are the more or less driving force behind urban sanitation. This, as Alexandra was indicating in the beginning, these conversations, these web materials will be available at susanna.org, where we do have this thread of discussions already existing, and we really request you to continuously interact, provide feedback on this platform to ensure that this conversation doesn't get dropped and those conversations actually last longer for greater impact. Next slide, please. So the next question is, what next? We've had these webinars for a while now. A lot of information, knowledge has been generated, but what should be the next kind of action plan going forward? It will be unfortunate for us to stop here, having invested a lot of time and effort, both the participants and also organizers. And I think there's an interest to really push this conversation forward. There's a need to do it. And it would have been fair for us not to really carry it forward. So we were more or less suggesting 3 action points that more or less inform the next set of steps. We'll be issuing a survey to really measure the satisfaction and the future needs of participants. So we really encourage you all to really participate. Those responses will be really informative in more or less arriving at the next course of action. And may consider doing more normative case studies, focusing on different thematic areas like innovation and tech, low-income communities, just ensuring don't leave anyone behind, monitoring, reporting. So we do appreciate your feedback on that. And last but not least, we've generated a lot of knowledge. It would be also a bit shame if this knowledge doesn't translate to action. We've created the awareness of things around sanitation. So let's put that into action. And the idea is to really create some knowledge products around these webinars, which can be disseminated widely and for maximum impact to our work on urban sanitation. So with those few words, I wish you the very best, and I look forward to listening to the rest of the webinar. And thank you, and back to you, Alessandra.
Okay, and then I'm throwing the ball directly to Neil, who will now open officially the webinar number 5. Neil Dot.
Yep. Hi, everyone. Hope you can hear and see me. Well, seeing me is not so important. I wouldn't advise that actually, but hearing me is probably okay. So I'm Neil. Oh, here I am. Hello. So I'm Neil Dot. I'm the director of AquaFed. We're the Federation of Private Water Operators, and we're in partnership in this series and working with GIZ, GWOPA, African Water and Sanitation Association, AFWASA, Susana, in this great partnership. So thank you to all those organizations for including us on this. A huge thanks to all of you who are attended. I think we see the participants now at 53, which is great. I also noticed that when I put something about this online on LinkedIn, it was the biggest response I ever got, and it was immediate as well. Initially, when I was looking for speakers, and then a couple of times we've been promoting the session. So it's power to the networks, really, but it also shows that the gender equality issue is absolutely massive in this sector, and we've got a long way to go. Very happy from the AquaFed side that we're a federation, and our two biggest companies, which are global companies, Veolia and Suez, both have female CEOs now, and they're quite brilliant. And also on the AquaFed board, we are almost at 50% in terms of our gender, our diversity balance. So we're nearly there. So we're trying to walk the walk as well as talk the talk. Okay. Now, in a few minutes, I'm going to hand over to the people that really matter, which is Euphrasia and the panelists. Just, I wanted to mention to you all a couple of things. We have tried, this is online, but we are trying as much as possible for this to be participative. And what I need from you all is to, while you're watching, while you're listening, comment in the chat. If you've got questions, I will try to bring those questions out at certain points during the session with Euphrasia, who's the boss here, and she's in charge. Please do ask questions. Please do participate. This is not a webinar for the sake of just having a webinar around lunchtime and giving us something nice to do. Kennedy just now mentioned some actions which are great, and from our side at AquaFed, everything we discussed today we're taking to the World Water Forum because we're quite active there, and AquaFed is actually also holding a professional women's networking event at the World Water Forum as well, and it's going to hopefully be quite big and quite important. But everything you say, we will be as much as possible inserting those comments into the sessions across the thematic sessions that are happening. What we were hoping for now, actually, but I don't think it's possible, unfortunately, we were hoping to have a couple of representatives from Lilongwe Water in Malawi, because they have gone and done it, and they've taken some incredible steps, and it being in terms of improving equality in the workplace and putting in some really imaginative and forward-reaching measures that I think are really out there in terms of utilities anywhere in the country, in the world, let alone Africa. But maybe at some point they'll join, and we'll try and bring them into the conversation. But enough from me. Please enjoy this session, and now I'm going to hand over to the boss, who is Euphrasia. Euphrasia, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Neil. I hope everybody can be able to see me fine. Alexandra, kindly confirm. Can everybody see me?
Euphrasia, we're not seeing your video, unfortunately, but we are hearing you.
Can you see me now on the video?
Yes, now we can see you.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much, Neil, as well. Hello, everyone. My name is Euphrasia Luseka. I'm a water governance and systems strengthening specialist with 15 years of experience in the water sector, and I'm very glad to be the moderator for this segment of the webinar. McKinsey Insight report indicates that the biggest obstacle for women's advancement that women face on the path to the senior leadership, and this gap is trending the wrong way for women of color. As a result of this broken rank, women fall behind and they cannot be able to catch up. Therefore, I start this session by appreciating all sponsors of this webinar for taking action by supporting us to fix this broken rank. And clearly, it certainly is a tangible and achievable goal, and will set off a positive chain of reaction across the pipeline towards ensuring that we have safe sanitation for all. So today we shall be listening to 5 different stories with one common truth, and that is women are the future and the present of the sanitation sector. Advancing the empowerment in the sanitation sector is both economics, is actually both smart economics and a lever to achieving gender equality. To help me discuss this topic is a brilliant panel of women in sanitation. I'm going to give just a brief highlight of their names only, and they're going to give us more of the details. I'll start with Margaret Maina. She's the Managing Director of Limuru Water and Sewerage Company. And we have Koena Mabitsela, Senior Process Controller of Emaleleni local municipality in South Africa. I hope I'm pronouncing that well, Koena. Aya Mohammed, who's a Senior Procurement Coordinator from Suez in Egypt. And Henrietta Oseitutu, who's a solid waste management specialist in Ghana. And then we have lastly, Shadia Rihai, the President, Tunisia Youth Parliament for Water and doctoral researcher of the University of Carthage. So my first question will be basically to just get from them what the current role is in urban sanitation and how they basically got there. So Maggie, how are you today?
Thank you, Felicia. I'm doing good, thank you.
Amazing. I have been following your work on Women in Water and Sanitation Association of Kenya. You are doing an incredible job alongside amazing the women there as well, like Elda, with most recently on supporting manual pit empties in slums of Nairobi City. You've been supporting them with the trainings or the PPEs, with equipment and so on. I've also been able to see a work from the slums up to the boardroom level. For me, from where I'm sitting, I'm just wondering, Maggie, we have 6 female managing directors in Kenya out of 100 or even more licensed water service providers. How has been your journey to date in the sanitation sector? What is your ultimate career goal? What has kept you in this sector up to today? Maggie, over to you.
Thank you so much, Ifresha. As I said, my name is Margaret Maina. I'm currently the Managing Director for Limuru Water and Sewerage Company. And I've been in that position for 18 years now. That position was occasioned by the water sector reforms in Kenya, where the government found it fit to separate the roles in the Ministry of Water and Development, to separate the roles of policy, water service provision and regulation. And in that is when the water companies are formed. So I'm a founder member of Limuru Water and Sewerage Company. And I didn't just get there. I started working as a water quality control officer in the Ministry of Water. And then I was seconded to National Water Conservation and Pipeline Corporation. And within my 30 years, I've risen through the rank to where I am. It has been quite a journey because I started working in the laboratory. So you can imagine going through that in a male-dominated sector. It had been difficult, but I'm lucky I had men who mentored me all through, because I just found myself part of the minority in the where men were the most, especially. Quite a journey, and thankful to guide me, and I'm happy that we are here. We are 7 women now, managing director out of the regulated one, over 100 water utilities. So you can imagine the water for a woman, where we didn't even have somebody to mentor us in the boardroom, how to do simple tasks like board papers, how to behave in the boardroom, to conduct meetings. It has been quite a journey, but also a learning process for me. And I'm happy that I'm here today to mentor other women in Felicia.
Thank you very much, Maggie. So it did not just happen overnight. It has been quite a journey. I would like to talk to you, Aya. Aya, how are you today?
Hello, how are you? I'm fine.
Very well, Aya. As Maggie was speaking, I was just remembering the moment that the Kamala Harris came to Ghana, and she stood boldly She stood beautifully at the black gates of Ghana, and that is where they gained their independence. And she said such amazing words in her speech. She said, women are entrepreneurs, yet they have limited access to capital markets. They are peacemakers and bridge builders, yet continue to be underrepresented at the tables where decisions are being made. And this is also just been exemplified by Maggie in her contribution just now. As an African woman in sanitation, Aya, what made you decide to pull a seat and lead gender-responsive procurement in the sanitation sector? Go ahead, Aya.
Hello, good day, everyone. I started my career as a procurement coordinator at SWAS International in Egypt. We can say as working as a senior procurement coordinator, I collaborate closely with the engineers and environmental scientists that include in wastewater treatment. This helped me a lot to raise my awareness and the employees' awareness about the environmental sustainability and how to deal with them. To be honest, I didn't start my career as an internship in wastewater, but I started by going with the flow without any plans. But after I started my journey in SWAS International and with the procurement and the border context of the environmental service, it increased my passion toward the sustainability and environmental cause. And this let me have more passion to learn about the natural and how to deal with the people in this sector. It wasn't easy at all to face all the challenges I have, but through the challenges like a complex procurement process and balancing between the priorities with the budget, the project budgets, but with the support of my mentors, I have overcome all this obstacle. So I was glad to start in this career, and I'm always have the passion to continue at this career. Thank you.
Amazing, amazing. I can conclude from your input. I'm taking some few notes as you're speaking here, and I'm hoping also the audience are taking some few notes and questions, putting questions on the chat box. I'm concluding from your discussion, Aya, that by collectively addressing the barriers that women-owned businesses in sanitation face in procurement processes and systems, transformative change can yield to an integrated approach to women's economic empowerment founded on equity and inclusion, right? Am I right, or am I right, Aya?
Yes.
Thank you so much. Henrietta, are you here with us today?
Yes, yes, I am, Euphrasia. I'm here.
Fantastic.
I had internet troubles at first, but I'm connected.
I'm glad you are. I'm glad you are. As you reflect on the story from both Aya and Maggie so far, do you feel like you have any similarities in your journey into the sanitation sector? Can you introduce yourself and tell us more about this?
Yeah. I really do feel I have a lot of similarities, especially with Maggie and Aya, because I also started out working as a head of treatment plant for an industrial gold mining company, and we're treating the water from the tailings dam. Ghana produces gold or mines gold. And so as part of the EPA requirements, we have to treat the mining wastewater. And I was really the head of plants. And that was my starting role for master's in sanitation. Appreciate or really similarities with Margaret, especially because she's in a utility. And then when I worked there for some time, and there was an opening in the Ministry of Local Government at the time, and that's the ministry that was in charge of sanitation, my professor reached out to me and he said, well, this is the first time they're really hiring civil engineers in the ministry, and I think you should go for it. I really went for it because that gave me an opportunity to really have a national impact and also be able to transform or some of the bad experiences I've had working in a private company and elevate it to the policy level so that some things can change and women and other younger people would be more interested in venturing into the area of sanitation engineering. So really for me, that was that we were having sanitation engineers being employed massively into the ministry, which was really in charge of sanitation. And luckily for me also, we had to be doing the procurement of all the large scale infrastructure and then the engineering aspects. So I really also I have some similarities with Aya, because procurement and then social safeguards are really my second and third languages in the business of water and sanitation. So I really do have a lot of similarities, and I've really traveled throughout the entire scope of from NGOs to private companies to national government to working on World Bank projects as a consultant. So I've really traveled the entire breadth. And as a petite young lady, having to sit in meetings with all these big men and older men, and so it's really a similar story. But I've also had the opportunity of having a very strong woman in the sanitation space in Ghana, who is a professor, Professor Esiewa, who just handpicked me and said, "I see your passion for the environment, and I want you to do public health engineering." And that was really how I started in public health engineering. And she really just led me into the sector and gave me an opportunity that I really look back to and I'm grateful for. So I do appreciate some of the things they've said. Thank you.
Thank you, Henrietta. Thank you, Henrietta. I'm just wondering, what is the role of men in your career journey to date? You've mentioned a lot of women, but then again, you've also mentioned that this is a male-dominated field. So what did men do for you at a particular point? Were there any male champions for you?
Well, I do have a lot of bitter experiences with men. I mean, I can't even count in dozens, right? But I think one of the jobs I applied, which was a state job, they just saw my name and said, "She's a lady engineer. She can't be on such a big infrastructure project. I mean, she can't even wear the safety boots. She's too small for that, you know." But being so good, the same person who gave me this comment, I had the opportunity of working with him. And he said, "Wow, I mean, what an incredible skill you have. How could I have been this biased towards you just because you're a woman?"
Amazing,
and
amazing.
he turned around.
I'd like to stop you there, Henrietta. I'd like to stop with there, Henrietta, because they're bringing a very important dynamic in the attraction of women in sanitation sector. The sanitation sector often does not attract women due to entrenched social norms and practices like stereotypes that you have just been able to mention, the lack of role models, the occupational segregation, you know, and simple interventions and approaches like that approaches can enable women to grow professionally and improve their businesses, as they've been able to mention. I remember at some point when I was chatting with Koena, she talked of employee satisfaction and thereby driving performance results, but also raising the role of mentorship in our sector generally. So I would call for what you're also calling for, as well as Maggie. Let us mentor more women into the sanitation sector. Let us go for the career talks and other outreach campaigns. Let's provide scholarships for women, and even try to just, you know, bring your daughter to work. Yeah. So I'll take the next question to Chadia. Chadia, hello.
Okay. Hello,
Hi,
everyone.
Chadia.
Can you hear me?
Hello. I'm just wondering, as a young woman in sanitation, the school to work transition, the bottlenecks from female graduates not targeted as candidates, something that again Henrietta has been able to highlight, gender biases in the hiring process that your mates are facing. How has the journey been to hold two roles at a very young age, both at UNESCO and Tunisia Youth Parliament? Was it easier with inclusive job advertisement? Was it easier with gender balanced hiring committees and so on? Please introduce yourself and tell us what were your levels. Go ahead.
Hello, everyone. I'm Shadia Riahi. I'm from Tunisia. As you said, I'm the president of the Tunisia Youth Parliament for Water and the founder of the Tunisia Youth Parliament for Water, and doctoral researcher, and a member of UNESCO Groundwater Youth Network, and one of the 3 regional leader Arab region. So as you said, actually, to be honest, it's not easy, but as women, we can do everything in one time. So Currently, my role in urban sanitation revolves around advocating for improved sanitation infrastructure and practices in urban area, particularly concerning groundwater pollution mitigation, because my research is focused on the groundwater pollution. And actually, it's a crucial and interesting relation between the wastewater and the groundwater pollution. So I have spearheaded initiative to raise awareness about the importance of proper sanitation and its implications for groundwater quality. My involvement as a researcher focused on groundwater pollution has been instrumental in shaping my understanding of the complexities surrounding urban sanitation through rigorous scientific inquiry and data analysis. I have identified key sources of contamination and collaborated with stakeholders to develop evidence-based solution. So being a member of the UNESCO Groundwater Youth Network and the research group of the World Youth Parliament for Water has provided invaluable opportunity to collaborate with experts, share knowledge, and advocate for policy changes. These networks have allowed me to stay abreast of the latest development in urban sanitation and leverage collective expertise to drive meaningful change. My journey to this role has been characterized by a deep-seated passion for environmental sustainability and a desire to make a tangible impact in my community and worldwide. Through years of active involvement in youth-led water initiatives and academic pursuits in environmental science, I have cultivated the skills, knowledge, and networks necessary to assume leadership position in the field of urban sanitation.
Okay, thank you so much, Shadia. Thank you so much. I'm just being reminded by two of my mentees from the University of Plymouth that they're listening in, and they're also young women in water and sanitation, just like you. So you are really an inspiration to them. And just moving to another younger woman in the water sector, Koena. Hello, Koena.
Hello, Euphrasia.
Yes, we have been to see the challenge of attraction of women in the sanitation sector, well illustrated by Henrietta and just by Chadia right now. So I believe that you can be able to relate to the experience as well. I'm just wondering about the barriers that they've been able to mention. What has been able to motivate you to stay in this sector? Because when you look at the challenges from a systemic lens, most of these can be relatable. Go ahead, Plena.
Thank you very much, Euphrasia. My name is Squena, as Euphrasia has noted, and I'm a senior process controller at Emalahleni. You said Emalaleni, so it's Emalahleni local municipality in South Africa, and I'm responsible for supervising the treatment of wastewater, just to make sure that it complies with discharge limits so that we can protect our receiving water resources. So, and my journey to here is that I'm very passionate about water, and regardless of the biasness that we come across on a daily basis, literally, it's the passion that pushes you to be here every day and to just continue contributing to the protection of water resources, in our communities, so that enhance development, because development depends on the availability of fresh water resources. So I am currently doing my PhD in ecological engineering, where I focus on remediating wetland systems for treating acid mine drainage, because in South Africa we have a lot of coal mines, so that contribute to disturbing the natural systems of different water bodies that we have. So for me, it's really about passion, making sure that we protect our water resources so that we can enhance and we can extract benefits from them to ensure that development continues. Thank you.
Amazing, fantastic. I mean, nobody teaches you how to have passion in your work. It has to be inborn, and that's how women are winning in this sector. It comes from the heart. As we close this first question bit and remove the second question, I think we can be able to clearly see that women are attracted in the sanitation sector, but they are recruited at lower rates. they're facing hurdles with regards to retention in the sector, and often they have fewer opportunities to advance their careers. But there are many promising approaches that organizations can be able to adapt to address these barriers and make the sector more diverse. And this brings me to now my second question. Now, I start this second question by a poem by the great Maya Angelou. It's titled "In All Ways, a Woman," and I'm going to read it. The woman who survives intact and happy must be at once tender and tough. She must have convinced herself or be in the unending process of convincing herself that she, her values, and her choices are important. In a time and world where males hold sway and control the pressure among women to yield their rights of way is tremendous. And it's under those very circumstances that the woman's toughness must be evident. It's an amazing poem, isn't it? Now I'll go straight. Yeah, thank you so much. I'll go straight to the lessons that you've been able to learn so far, ladies. I would like to also hear the advice that we could be having for different women. I'm also excited with the fact that we are having a panel of women who are still at entry level in the sector, and those who have been in the sector for almost 2 decades. So Maggie, the myth, could you kindly just go ahead and give us a view of the lessons and the advices that you have been able to be able to have in the sector, and at the same time being able to also break the myths that have been about women participation in the sector. Go ahead, Maggie.
Thank you so much, Ifresia. First, I would want to encourage the women that culture in the African culture was put there for women to put the women where they say that we belong, in the kitchen. So the moment you are seeing like you are getting against our African norms, people see you differently, and that is something the woman has to live with, especially in Africa. I have had a lot of issues, especially even in the way women are treated at the workplace, where you don't have equal opportunities. Sometimes you find in some tasks, men are paid more than women, and you have gone through the same curriculum in school, graduated, and it favors men. And I remember when I was being employed in the first place, women were not even entitled to a house allowance because they are married. Women were not even entitled to medical NHIF because it is expected that you have a spouse. And one of the issues is that women had to change their names to say that I'm a special single so that you could attract the allowances like men. So at my initial employment, discrimination started from the public, from the government, where women are employed on contract and men were employed on PNP. So women have to fight their space to get where they are supposed to go. And we have done that because I know women, we have to learn more, they have to be more educated than men, as it is well known when you look for a job, jobs are advertised. The men, you look for 2 areas that they qualify, and they will go for it. But for the women, we judge ourselves so much. You have to look at the list of where you are not qualifying, because we want to give you a reason why you are not fit for the job. So it is a high time I've been encouraging women to go for it. Whatever you think you are capable, you are supposed to go for it, because women are the best leaders. Unlike the maids, they say that behind every man there has to be a woman. Women are the ones who guide the success. So I've learned that I must trust my friends, trust myself, and stand my ground. Where we are working with men, we are not competitors, but we are there to synergize each other. We are everybody differently in the way we think, the way we do things. So the space I've been working on is for complementing one another. The other issue I have for women is to make them apply for the jobs, apply for opportunities from the supervisory level, because you have to grow from down to up. And you have to learn also, women have to learn twice as much, because we don't want to make mistakes. I know that making mistakes is also a virtue women don't like, but it is also a lesson for us on how to do better next time. So we usually judge ourselves too harshly, and that one also makes us not even moving to the next offices or taking assignments, even if people may have a lot of confidence in us. the confidence must also come from us as women so that the others can support due to our capabilities. The sector is trying to improve because right now, like in Kenya now, in every position, a third must go to the women. So, but the women have to go there. Nobody will come looking for us. I'm happy that the sanitation space also is considering the working environment for women. Previously, even the protective gears, they were geared towards men, especially the overalls, the hoods, even the riders, the motorbikes. They expected that women have to be carried by their peers when they are going to the field. But now I'm happy many utilities now encouraging women to be motor riders so that they can go and read their meters on their own without walking around with a man to provide the security. So we have a long way to go. We need to mentor women that it is okay to make mistakes. We need to mentor women to tell them that it is not, we are so perfect. We should not, there's nothing which is perfect. We should not be perfect, but we are supposed to learn from our mistakes. And I know when we learn women, we don't repeat the mistake. So I need to encourage women. There are so many mates, but we have to fight them. We are supposed to be looking at our families. A woman can juggle between childbearing, being a housewife, being a doctor in the family, and still being a worker, a good worker, because a woman will look at what will happen to the children and if she's not able to provide. So
exactly, Maggie. I would like to add from and pick up from where you have mentioned about motorbikes. I would also like to add having lactation rooms in place, a regular pay gap assessment. These are things when you're walking around the water service providers in Kenya, where I have worked extensively with. I think I've worked with more than 60. You know, we rarely see these two things happening. So having motorbikes in place, having even the proper PPEs in place, as I believe Henrietta is going to be telling us at a particular point from the chat I've been having with her. I believe that's very, very important. I also want to highlight a very interesting bit that you have made in your submissions, where I would like to highlight the role of men as allies. I always say the problem is not men, but it's actually patriarchy. And it's so important for us to recognize the systems of oppression before letting individual defensiveness paralyze us from dismantling them. It is never us against them, the men, but you know, it's about us against the issue at hand. And us is basically women as well as men in the sanitation space. So Henrietta, could you go ahead and give us your lessons as well as advice so far?
Okay, thank you very much, Fraser. I think my lessons, you've even highlighted some of them already. I think one of the key things I did, which I don't want any other lady to do, is when I had a problem as a woman, I ran, okay? And when I was in the wastewater treatment plants, one of the biggest things that I had a challenge was the PPEs. My size shoe is 37, and the PPEs, the least I got was 41. And they made the shoes so heavy, and I had to climb up the ladder. We had clarifiers, and then we had oxidation tanks that are really high, and I needed to climb these things with oversized and overweighing PPEs. And I ran, you know, to the national level, where I had to move away from the field or from the process engineering to something that was a bit flexible for me. But I don't want other women to do the same thing. Speak up, okay? Speak up when you have a challenge. If they don't listen, continue speaking up. Get support group. Get a group that can support you to convey the message that you can't say very well, you know? If you need to get, I think in Ghana, we have the Ghana Institution of Engineering, and they have a women's wing. Later I joined, but I didn't join early enough, okay? You have to join these support groups, because as you travel the career road, you would need them. You would need a shoulder to cry on, and you would need a group where you don't seem to be lonely and people are feeling the same way you are feeling. If you don't get that group, you drown, and your voice will be drowned. And I don't want other younger women, and when you drown, that's don't get the leadership positions, because nobody sees you and nobody what you're doing, right? So speak up,
like the
get a
point,
support
Henrietta,
group,
on
join professional networks. Yeah.
Yes, I was
Yeah,
saying
I'm
that I
listening,
really
please.
like the point. I like the point on the basic stuff like even PPEs. I mean, and this is why people like Aya are so important in the sector with regards to having gender responsive procurement. In the end of it all, we are spending more money in setting
Yeah.
up spaces, services, goods, even basic things like the PPEs that are not even gender friendly, toilets that are not gender friendly, toilets that are not even
They are
equipped
not
with
there. Yeah.
menstrual hygiene equipment and the like.
Hygiene.
So thank you for raising that. Shadia, let's talk about education. Shadia, we cannot be able to unroll the role of education in giving women an unfair advantage to leverage on, especially with regards to succeeding in the sector. We can never say that education is enough. We are learning something new every day. Even in this session right now, people are learning new things. People are getting more motivated. Tell me more about your views on education and issues to do with gender and leadership in sanitation. Go ahead, Shadia.
Actually, my advice and the big and only advice for now, it's never stop learning, because education is the basic matter now. I don't know, maybe there is so much things around us, but learning and education is our fuel to make the change. It's the only one. Education and research and scientific research. As a scientific researcher, my only advice is never stop learning, because every day there is challenges, there is new problems to find solutions. So research is our key. It's my only big advice.
Exactly. Amazing. And Koena, I usually I say a lot of things, but for this, I really have to hammer that, you know, we are surrounded by gender inequity, as visible as the law, as hidden as our private thoughts, you know, and like fighting an addiction, being pro gender equity requires persistent self awareness, constant self criticism, and regular self examination. The point, you know, with whatever that we are working on up to date is about ending discrimination. It's not about replacing it with a different type of discrimination, as we have been able to hear from Henrietta's views on simple things like just PPEs, you know, and even from Maggie's views, simple things like, you know, you have hired me as a manager, but, you know, where's my seat on a real decision-making table? Where's my seat with regards to making even a basic policies to be inclusive, like your medical cover, you know? So what lessons have you been able to learn in your career to date, Koena?
Thank you, Euphrasia. You know, I think Maggie has touched on this a lot. You know, that you are hired as a supervisor or a manager, and for me, as a person who's hired into entry level management, you know, it becomes so difficult. You know, when you voice out your professional opinion about certain things that can be implemented within your working environment, you know, just to best enhance the types of processes we have, and none of implemented and none of that is taken into consideration. You know, you sit in meetings and instead of you contributing to the production or whatever processes it is that we have at hand, they expect you to draft minutes, you know, and you start asking yourself that, am I here to take down minutes, which I don't mind. However, my core focus is to contribute towards making our environment a better place and making sure that we actually achieve our goals. So for me, it's a bit of a pain, you know, to sit down and you get educated so much, you know, and you understand as a person who's on the ground, you know, what needs to be done, what are the things that need to be implemented. But at the end of the day, you know, we suggest, we write reports, we recommend, but none of that are taken into consideration because you have management that is somewhat detached from what is happening on the ground, and you are on the ground. You have to deal with with all the inefficiencies on a daily basis. And when you give recommendations, they're not always, you know, taken into consideration. So it's a bit of a challenge, and I just I think one thing that would work is that, you know, a certain law needs to be passed to say that the people who are on the ground and the people who are actually attached to the physical work should be able to implement whatever solutions they think is necessary to address the challenges that we are faced with, instead of us being, you know, forced to implement things that make no sense in relation to the challenges that we faced with. So I think for me, that's one of my biggest challenge. And, you know, you have to deal with it every day. It's not something that has one solution and we can take it under the rug. It's something that we have to deal with on a daily basis. And we literally have to fight to have our voice heard, you know, regardless of whatever position it is that you have.
Exactly. Amazing input. I will just recommend, do not fight physically. Fight with the policies, fight
Yes.
with the legislation. And this reminds
Yes.
me of a football player called, I think he was from Tunisia, and he called out a female referee, and he said, "Your place is in the kitchen." So the referee went ahead and reported to FIFA, and FIFA put sanctions against him. And one of the best punishments that he had in terms of corrective measures was officiating or by being a referee for a football match for women. So really, policies are there, legislations are also there. They're there to support us, not only to showcase the bad side of issues, but and again reprimand people, but also to provide corrective measures. So let's leverage on these policies and legislations, as well as guidelines that have been put in place. Thank you so much, Koena. Aya, over to you.
Yes.
Kindly go ahead with your input on this question.
Yeah. In my opinion, we can say also that the continuous learning is essential. It's essential in our careers. Like Maggie said, it's helped us to keep updated with the latest industry trends and technologies, and also to confidence. Confidence is very important in our career to make sure believe in ourselves in our professional settings. In fundamental, it's a fundamental of success. Confidence empower us to take the challenges and advocate ourselves and increase our opportunities to growth. And we can also the self advocates in a woman in a male dominant field. We must make sure of our values, seeking equal opportunities and support each other. The women just support each other in this field is very important to increase the opportunities and the level of growth. In my advice for the younger woman to be proactive is in seeking out the opportunities for growth and advancement. Don't hesitate to advocate for yourself and worth in a professional setting, and also to build a strong support and network and surrounding yourself with the mentors who champion our success. And mostly important for me, that to believe in yourself, trust your ability, and to strengths and to know your strengths and to strengthen our weaknesses.
Yes,
and also,
yes, you have one more thing to say. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead with the last point.
No, I just emphasize that to increase the importance of education and to keep learning.
Okay, thank you so much. And this is why I love your input. I was just trying to put some notes here on the same. I love your input because it's more of saying, you know, when you point a finger at someone, three are pointing back at you. So we also have to take responsibility as women of our careers. We have to take leadership of our careers and not sit back and say the gender policies are going to push us ahead. Neil is going to look for us on LinkedIn and find us and give us an opportunity. Neil is looking for women who are ready, who are prepared to be able to take over such roles. So this is Neil, and Neil basically is a metaphor for all other men and again, all other opportunities and women in the sector. I'm also getting something very interesting from you that I want to read here that I've been able to jot down. Feeling humble to please people will get us overlooked. It's going to get us underpaid. It's going to get us underbooked. So let us stay authentic to ourselves. Let us speak our minds. Let us go for these opportunities and always try to talk highly of your brand. That brand is you, you know, so never ever sell yourself short, ladies in the sector. So thank you so much, Aya, as we close the second question. And as I move to the third and the final question bit, my great audience, I'm really hoping that you're taking notes. I'm really hoping that you're sending us a lot of questions to these brilliant, amazing panelists. And as we draw towards the end of this segment itself, indeed, so far we have been able to strongly build the case that gender equity is important for the sanitation sector leadership. But at the same time, before we leave this session, I'm just wondering again about what changes do we need to see from the employers, from the public authorities, and even government to help women advance their careers. Maggie, I'll start with you again, yeah, and ask collaborative efforts with external stakeholders to galvanize collective action will be helpful, including publicly sharing status existing challenges, setting corrective measures, sharing the progress, sharing the impact, you know, and this has been said strongly very well by Chadia as well. I'm just wondering how, if you have any other examples to be able to support this, and again to just see how we can be able to increase accountability from the duty bearers. I know for a fact that data is always a great starting point, and the World Bank has done incredibly well with providing a lot of data on women in both water and sanitation sector. So Maggie, do you have any other examples besides collaborative efforts with various stakeholders and keeping them accountable?
Thank you, Euphrasia. First, I have to say that women are very good when they network and work together. And having worked in the sector for long, and I didn't have somebody to share with. That is why we founded Women in Water and Sanitation as 13 women, so that women could have a reference point where they could come and share their experiences, and also for mentorship. And that organization we have also managed now even to talk to other stakeholders, to be members of stakeholders, and also to have forums where we are linking with the training institutions, the water affairs service providers as representatives, so that we are able to discuss with the women issues where we are within. We found that women networks are important because they provide a table where the women have a chance of discussing the women issues, because men may not understand because of our nature. So it is very important when we have our work networks in our countries, and we are lacking one in water. But I'm happy that WIWAS has been recognized as a water sector institutions where they are bringing the issues of women. So that is the starting point, because now young women are being nurtured. We are mentoring schools for career path guidelines. We are also mentoring the leaders and telling them that even if the government puts in the quota system, the women have to be there. But the other thing is we should not also be given jobs to fill in the gap. No, we must go there because we are trained and experienced to handle those positions. So that is what we are telling women. I've seen somebody asking if they were filling a quota. No, you are given a job because you are qualified for it, not to fill in the gap. And women should go there feeling that I'm an equal partner, because that is when you are able to question the status quo. If you are brought through a quota system, you are always tied to the people who brought you there, because maybe you are brought in to fill in that gap. So it is good for women to mentor each other and to push the governments, and the women issues are now recognized all over the world. So we need to create that space. We need to nurture more women and to understand their issues. They can be mentored all over the world now through the networks that are available. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Maggie. Indeed, that is very true. I am a member of the Women in Water Association, and they're doing an incredible job. So I can attest with regards to the impact that they've been able to create They're on all social media sites, including LinkedIn, and you're free to be able to join the association. Chadia, in the same breath and picking up from Maggie's points, I'm just wondering, can we be able to deduce that though many sanitation organizations perceive themselves as supporters of women, they're not taking enough action, such as publicly advocating for gender equality, publicly confronting discrimination, and publicly mentoring and sponsoring them. Though we have women with a lot of capacity to lead in the sector, there exist geographical mismatches between women in sanitation and opportunities. So they continue being underrepresented. They continue being paid less. So from your experience in very interesting organizations that are key in decision-making processes, I'm just wondering, Chadia, what other activities do you feel that duty bearers can be able to come in and support this matter to be able to bridge the gap? Over to you, Chadia.
Okay.
Chadia?
Okay. Actually, we need to encourage training and development programs, because encourage employees to invest in training and development programs specifically designed to women's career advancement. These programs could include leadership training, mentorship opportunities, and skills development workshops tailored to women needs that will lead to more development of many organizations. All the organization, or when you put a woman in a leader position, that make the organization in the right path. Actually, it will help the organization to make the development that it needed by many communities and worldwide. So we need to put more women in leader positions.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, Chadia. Kwena, what are your views?
Thank you, Euphrasia. I think I just want to touch on what I think it's Maggie, and I saw a comment also in the chats. It was posted by Alexandra, and they were really emphasizing on women as much as women come into the environment and sanitation space. You know, it's really not about us filling gaps and just being part of the. It really does no justice to us. It does no justice to the sanitation industry. We just have to be there because the certain gaps that need to be filled. I think we are capable, we are well equipped, we are well educated, we are well trained, and deserve to be in these positions, and we deserve these leadership positions as you progress through it. So for me, I would say, just as I had alluded, you know, taking serious and implementation of the strategies that we come up with on the ground, you know, as women. And not only does it apply to women, but it also applies to men. You know, that the recommendations we have based on the environments that we are in, you know, should be taken very seriously. It should not just be sidelined, you know, because somebody else can come up with a better solution that actually cannot down to the actual challenges that we're dealing with. And exposure is extremely important. I would certainly not be here speaking to you guys and being a big part of this. You know, if it wasn't for exposure. I was exposed to the world of environment and earth science in early high school. I was actually doing, you know, and I even changed to environmental science and to geographical studies in the high school career because I was triggered, and you know, I was introduced to the world of environment. It really interested me. So I would say, you know, government, NGOs, organizations going down to your high school, just making it popular. These are careers that we actually follow, and they're really in demand because I think water issues are a global problem. You know, yeah, if it's not going to be the next World War V, I don't know what it's going to be if we don't sort out our water issues quite soon.
Sure.
So, yeah, so
Kwena.
it should be very attractive for women to enter. Yes,
Yeah.
thank you very much.
Thank you, Koina. Thank you. I'm also remembering a point that you mentioned during our prior discussions on issues to do with remote work and hybrid work. And I just had to mention something on the same, that, you know, when women work remotely, they kind of face lesser microaggressions that actually Maggie shared earlier in the beginning of the webinar itself. And they have actually higher levels also of psychological safety. And therefore, I feel that probably more organizations need to look into how we can be able to model flexible working. There's need for transparent promotion as well, coming from your input. The process of promotion criteria has to also be transparent and also accountable in so many ways. And I believe the most important bit that we are rarely talking about, and I called out Afwasa, I called out AMCAO, as well as other water sector associations, regional water sector associations, that it's high time that we also had awards that are recognizing female leadership in the WASH sector. Well, thank you so much for that input, Koina. Henrietta, are you with us?
Yeah, I'm here, Euphrasia. I'm here.
Yes, Henrietta. I believe we face a lot of discrimination for even standing against discrimination sometimes, and I think it's something that we've not been able to share so far. But then again, I remember my favorite Nigerian musician. He's called Fela Kuti. He has an interesting song in Yoruba, and it says, "What an all get enemy." And I'm wondering from where you're sitting, Henrietta, I know you're from Ghana, but Nigeria is your neighbor. I'm just wondering, in relation to Henrietta, besides what you've been able to share so far, what could be a call to stakeholders to be able to now support us sum up this agenda better? Over to you, Henrietta.
Okay, thank you very much. Nigeria is actually our brothers. We are brothers and sisters. But the Ghanaian jollof is better than the Nigerian jollof, I must say. So I think one of the things that one of the things that is really practical that I think organizations can support, for instance, for me, when you, as a woman, you get to childbearing age, you are even more constrained. So putting in very, very little things like having a nursery facility or a small library where you could actually bring your kids when you really have to, when you don't have the option of somebody taking care of them or taking them to school. You know, there are some days they get sick, your nanny doesn't show up, you know, all those kind of surprises that you get as a mother. Very practical things. If the organization
Henrietta, I think we have lost you. Are you back? Okay, it's okay, Henrietta. We can move ahead to Aya. Aya, I was reading a great publication by Gita as well as Muherji, and they stated a very interesting comment that I got attracted to as a water governance specialist. And they said, no empowerment without rights, no rights without politics. The sanitation gender challenge for me from where I'm sitting and listening to all the conversations until now, I believe is a sanitation governance issue. Henrietta?
And then also just to say that I mean the male can also be really good champions. You know, I had a male leader who gave me an opportunity to get a driver to give me some time. I was spending 3 hours in commute. And that 3 hours was incredible time for me to catch up on emails, be in virtual meetings, and even be in management meetings, you know. So the male can also be used as really good champions to really push and change the system of patriarchy. And then the school is also an important place, because if you don't get the right certificates from high school, you can't be in the water and sanitation sector, right? So we really also need to target people right from the school. If they come out and they don't have the certificate, they can't be in the sector. And most of the students don't even understand what program they need to choose to work in the environment or the sanitation space. So the school is a place that is really important that we should channel a lot of energy into and educate and orient the people to understand what the options are, what programs you can do to end up in sanitation as a career.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Henrietta. You're actually affirming the point by Chadia on education as well. Thank you so much. So Aya, as I was mentioning as we bring this to a close, on a great publication by Sangita and Mukherjee that I was reading, they stated that, we have no empowerment without rights, and we have no rights without politics. And from where I'm sitting so far, from the conversations that we have had until now, I believe that the sanitation gender challenge that we are experiencing until now is a governance issue. And I believe governance issues require governance solutions. From where you're sitting, Aya, I'm just wondering, do you feel that, there's more that government can be able to do? What more should they do if indeed you feel the same? Go ahead, Aya.
In my opinion, that the government have a lot to do. For example, here in Egypt, we have the maternity leave rights in the public sector only 3 months, while for 1 year, while the private sector it's one for only 3 months. For example, they have the authority to let the private sector give the vacation for 1 year for the both sectors. This to ensure all the women have the equal right post-birth is very important. To have the balance between her life, working life, and her family life, and also to put an equality, ensure equality, that the women receive an equal pay like the men, not because you're women, so you will not have the same pay for the men. To make sure for all the salaries that the women take like the men, it's very important. And also, in my opinion, that they can also put a rule or anything to let the woman have more flexible working hours, as we said before, and remotely option. As many companies give advanced tools like VPNs and high tech specific laptop that allow the woman to work from home, especially for the married women and those who have the kids. This policy also will contribute in cost-saving measures like reducing electricity consumption.
And rent generally. I mean, you have a huge office with so many people who probably some could just be working remotely, and a lot of money is going into such operational costs. Go ahead, Aya.
Yes, so when we talk about this, it's very important. And also we can say that if we're going to talk about the employers, they can offer an additional training, not only for the women, but for me, it's for the men, to let them how to deal with the women in this sector, how to give them the opportunity to go in the growth career. And for sure that we have to give the women and trainings to enhance their skills. This for me, in my opinion.
Thank you so much, Aya. What I can say with regards to conclusion of this whole incredible session that I've been able to moderate with you, inspiring and fantastic female sanitation leaders, is that support us and you're going to see wonders. So thank you so much for listening to me, everybody, and thank you so much, our dear panelists. Neil, kindly take over. Thank you.
Thank you, Yufi, and thank you all the panelists. I'm sure you agree, first of all, that Euphrasia should have her own TV show, quite honestly, the way she handles this conversation. And thank you to the brilliant panelists and for your incredible insights. We've got a few questions, actually. I just come back to a few questions, if I may. Alex, you've got your hand up, I think, and I was going to actually ask your question again, because, and I think I was kind of talking about it just now, this issue of kind of policies or strategies to get to push gender equality, and this question about quotas for women in public services or in the private sector, and whether that should be put into guidelines, regulation, legislation. What's the panel's view on this, please? In terms of like what they call positive discrimination is a phrase that's used in Europe, right? By the very nature, it doesn't sound right. Anyway, what would the panelists think on that? Yufi, I'll hand back to you actually to hand this to manage this bit. But it was a question that came up, and I've got a couple more. But what about this one? It's about this idea of quotas to get the balance up. Does that work for you, women panelists? Okay, well, perhaps Yufi, should we ask?
Able to pick it up, Aya?
Yeah.
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 Aya, did you get the question? It's about kind of positive kind of policies that almost force the hand of employers to make sure that there is a certain amount of women in, say, management positions, for example, or on or things like this. Does that, Aya, is that something that you agree with?
Yes, I agree to have this policy for sure.
Yeah. Okay.
To have the balance and gender equality, it's main thing in our fields, our career.
Yeah, yeah. So you think almost we have to kind of engineer this to make it happen, to at least get women up to a greater level. I see Kona nodding her head, and so I think you're in agreement with this as well. Is that, you know, we've been talking perhaps with these issues for far too long, and unless there's some really solid action to take the next step to that level of equality. Margaret, you've got your hand up. Please, over to you.
Okay, thank you so much, Nell. I know there is that positive discrimination that can be brought in by people. I want to give my example where since 2009, I've been mentored by Afwasa, who saw the need of women leadership in the sector. And they made it their practice that in every Congress they are having a women leadership summit the first Sunday. And this one, because they have the space where they are talking to the sector players, water utilities, the policymakers, they have understood it, and back in their countries, the countries are also putting the women wing as part of their best practices. Of course, it also gives us, if it is put as a key performance indicators on how the utility is doing, they can learn from what AFASA is doing. They are mentoring women. They are giving grants for women leadership so that they can enhance their policy, their programs in the countries.
Oh yeah, I think we might have lost Margaret there. Unfortunately, it's not just my Margaret, we'll come back to you because I think we've lost you. If we could perhaps mute Margaret as well. Sorry. Yufi, I'm going to come back to you, then Koina, please.
Thank you, Neil. I just wanted to agree on this positive discrimination. I mean, if that's what it's going to take to bring women into the forefront and into leadership positions, then let it be so. I mean, it's not like there's an influx of uneducated women.
This one
Hang on, Koina. Hang on, sorry.
Also to bring faith even to the utilities that and the other players that they need it. So thank you.
Okay, I think we lost Margaret. Koina, back to you. Sorry about that.
No
It's
problem.
all going well till I took the chair, which would just let Yufi control it. This is why we have you for easier. Right. Koina, sorry, over to you.
No problem. Just like I was saying, it's not like there's an influx of uneducated women who are being brought into the workspace just because there should be women who are closing gaps. You know, there's educated women who are more than capable to take these leadership roles into sanitation and the water industry. And if it's going to take positive discrimination and engineering these things, then let it be so. I am one for it, absolutely.
Yeah, thanks, Koina. Thank you. Euphrasia, you've got your hand up.
Yes,
Yeah,
quite
please.
a very quick one, affirming what Koina has been able to mention straight from her president's mouth. His Excellency Cyril Ramaphosa, he once said, laws and policies must be biased towards improving the lives of women. And I want to give a quick example on procurement issues and gender. For instance, in Kenya, it was the first African country with an affirmative action law on public procurement through its access to government procurement opportunities program. And we can see the same in other countries in East Africa, from Uganda, Tanzania, as well as Rwanda and Ethiopia. They have a localized approach which ensures that we have more women, youth, and persons of disabilities going up for tenders for government activities. Yeah, over to you, Neil.
Thank you, Euphrasia. Henrietta, you've got your hand up as well, please.
Yeah, Neil, just to support what Koina and also Euphrasia and Maggie has already said. I mean, if it means having to put in these quotas for women to climb up the top, yes, I mean, it's necessary. For instance, in Ghana, currently I'm working with informal solid waste collectors. And at the bottom of the majority of these pickers, 65% of them are women. And in their various zonal zones, associations, not a single woman occupied a position as of 2019, right? So we put it in place, some of these affirmative action clauses into our documents and into our working documents or projects with them. Now the entire association, the president is a woman and she's doing a brilliant job at that, you know. So it's not like the women are not there or the women are not capable of doing it. Sometimes they just give, I've had experience of a man telling me, well, you need time to look after your kids. I don't come for this position, you know? So sometimes they assume you are unavailable or you don't have the time. Meanwhile, you have to speak up and say you don't have the time. They shouldn't assume for you. So yes, some of these clauses in contract documents, these clauses in development projects and initiatives do really make a good impact and provides opportunities and avenue for capable women to really occupy the seat that they need to. Thank you.
Cool. Thanks, Henrietta. I think that's a very clear message from all of you, really, about positive discrimination. Interesting as well, I think, an African woman's perspective compared to a European's one may be slightly different, but very interesting. I think that's something we need to definitely take note. One more question, please. It was kind of a theme that came up from two of the questions before, which is basically for Monica and I think Aurore from Benin as well. Basically, about partnerships, the ways of getting women to help each other, almost, I suppose, and how to foster the networking. Henrietta, you mentioned, I think, something about a support group in Ghana, an engineering support group, and I wasn't clear if that was a women-only group or that was men and women. But I just wanted to ask the panel this question about how to basically effectively create women's networks, and do those things really help, or is it just something that people like me think is a cool idea? Chadia, you've got your hand up. I wonder if you're able to answer this question, please. You're on mute, Chadia.
Okay.
Yeah, go for
thank
it.
you, Neil. Okay, thank you, Neil. I just wanted to add some encouragement for the woman, African woman, and the worldwide. Just I wanted to say that Tunisia is the first country that women in scientific research is more than 50%. So if we hear something like that, it will encourage many women in the world to be just like Tunisian women to make the difference.
Yeah, noted. Thank you, Chadia. Margaret, you've got your hand up again, and I'm sorry we lost you earlier. I think we lost your about 2 minutes of your wisdom. But if you could go to this question about kind of women's networks and what makes them effective and how to set them up.
Okay, thank you so much, Neil. I was talking about positive discrimination and forming women networks. As I said, I am a founder member of Women in Water and Sanitation. And why we created this association is to network and benchmark with women so that they can have a place where they can learn from other women. AFWASA is one of the networks that has been created, and since 2016, the women have been attending the Congress and having a day to themselves where they discuss the issues that affect them in their places of work. So networking has a positive impact, and we are also able to access funding to help women. Right now, I'm working on a project through BBW, which we are calling PUAS, which is a promotion of participation of women in the sector, so that we are able to mentor and mentor students, the women working in the workforce. So networking is one of the issues, and I'm happy that AFWASA has championed the way. They are even giving grants for us women so that we can undergo leadership training for our women to capacity build them so that they're able to take the leadership positions in their organizations. Thank you.
Awesome, Margaret. Thank you very, very much. Right, we've got 4 minutes left. I'm going to do two things. I'm going to quickly tell you what I wrote down. There's some things that came into my head from the discussion. I know Yufi was writing more. Then we're going to go to, I'm very pleased to say that someone from Lilongwe Water is here. And I'm going to give Rachel, who's here, the floor really in a minute to see us out, because they've gone and done it. And I just want to sort of really hear from them about the difference it's made to Lilongwe by having a kind of pro-women strategies in place and taking practical solutions. Very quickly, I noted down for the discussion, mentorship comes up every single time. And if we do not fix this in this sector and do not act on it, we'll be forever having these webinars saying, you know, why things aren't moving. It's just so obvious that this has got to be done on a more systematic level globally across the sector. And you all mentioned as well, I think you mentioned about now we have technology, we don't have to have mentors who are close by, we can be mentored anywhere. So that came up very strongly. Continuous development as well, learning. And I noticed from the panelists, all of you are highly educated. And not only are you highly educated, you value education and lifelong learning so much, which is just clearly the way forward. One thing I really liked, I think Margaret started this comment and you all followed, about trusting your instincts, right? And this is from a man's point of view. I know there's nothing more powerful than a woman's intuition, right? Trust me, I know from my wife, she just knows things before anyone else does. It's a special power you have. This is not nonsense. It's totally and utterly true. And we need to trust that a lot more. Okay. And you need to trust your own powers as well, quite honestly. And please don't take that in a patronizing way. It's someone who totally believes, because I've seen it in action, right? More practically, I put this thing in earlier, the 2 M's, mobility and milk, right? And what I meant by that was there are actually a lot of very practical solutions to be done, whether it's training women on how to ride motorbikes, small ones, probably not super fast ones, just to get around. Brilliant suggestion, as with the things like the lactating rooms, which I think Lilongwe Water have as well. Male champions, I don't know. I think you either have to incentivize men to properly take gender equality own performance appraisals, unless you put it down in paper and say, unless you fix this problem, you're not getting some of your salary or something. Those types of measures need to be taken. Again, I don't know why that doesn't happen more. And finally, education. It's so clear, another message from all of you, starting at schools. So perhaps next time we can think about how we bring in the education sector into this discussion. Right, now, enough from me. Oh God, we're losing very little time. Rachel, and I think that's Anderson there, from Lilongwe Water. I'm just going to ask you one very, very quick question. And I'm so sorry you've had trouble joining us. Tell us the improvement to Lilongwe Water Board that's been made after you took on pro-women strategies. What's been the difference? Tell us in 1 minute, what's been the benefit of putting women first? Tell us, please.
Yeah, thank you, Neil. I'll ask Anderson to to quickly mention what we have been doing at Lilongwe Water Board to improve the inequalities. Yeah, thank you very much. Up to you, Anderson.
Okay, thank you. Thank you once again. Apologies for joining late, but the major thing that we've done as the Lilongwe Water Board is in the area of affirmative action. You talked about positive discrimination, I think, earlier on, but we call it affirmative action right here. So this basically means doing deliberate actions to recruit more women into our organization. This has helped us in recruiting a number of women in areas which are basically male-dominated, like engineering, like plant operation. So we've got more women now than before as a result of affirmative action. Again, the other issue that we've done to women is to do a bit of mentorship. In terms of mentorship, women who have joined maybe in the engineering profession, our management has deliberately given them responsibility for very big projects. For example, European funded engineering projects. Our management has deliberately given responsibilities for such projects to women as a way of mentoring. So in short, that's what the Lilongwe Water Board has done.
Angela, thank you very, very much. That was very clear and a very inspiring way to end this excellent webinar. I'm so sorry we didn't get a chance to speak to you both at the beginning, right? But I think you've ended. It was great to have you at the end. We must close this now. So I've just said in the chat, there's lots of actions from here. We will message you about kind of summaries and next steps and hopefully the video of this session as well. So look out for this. But thank you all for joining and I wish you best of the day and the future onwards. And thank you so much, particularly to the panelists who are just absolutely brilliant. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
One common truth